friends, Ashton here. So in today's live coding project, I'm going to introduce a very small project, but it's going to be very useful if you're using Twilio to send a message. So it's going to automate the process for sending message from Google Sheet. So here is the application, and in this application we have two tabs here. The first one is called app. So in this app, you need to add some credentials from your Twilio account. Okay, you need to grab the account ID and going to have an authentication token, and also we need to have the phone number of yours. So it's the from phone number, right? And in this message tab, you're going to have a column called 2. It's going to be the receiver's phone number, and column B is going to be the message, so called body, and the column C and D is going to be for the record, for the log. Okay, so let me show you. So if I click on this send message, and if I click on yes, it's going to send in the message, and you should be able to see this error message, not error message, just a message, how many message were sent successfully and how many failed here. Okay, and then I got this status here, as you can see. So in this tool, you can automate this process a little bit. So let me check if I can get this message. So if I open, all right, I got the first one. This I think is not from this test. I only get one because I think they're not doing this in that order, asynchronous. I don't know. So basically, I think it's working because I did some test. And you can, if you don't want to learn the code, and you can just make a copy of the project, and you can try it with your own Twilio account. Okay, and I'm going to explain all the code and to do the live coding code for you, and you can follow up the video, and you can do it. You can try it with your own account. And also I'm going to show you where you can find all of this information in your Twilio account. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to save some time, I already have this Google Sheet created, and here we have two tabs. And the first tab here, all right, is called message. And here you can enter the message you want to send. And in column A is going to be the phone number of the receiver. And in column B is going to be the message you want to send. Okay, you're going to send it to your client or someone else like that. And for column C and D is going to be used for the record. So basically, if the send was successful or not, we're going to record a record like an error message or something, just in case we send we have some issue with the phone number, something like that. We can alert the users. All right, so this is about the input from the users. And in this app here we have something, we have 3 parameters here. The first one is called account SID. So you can find all of them from your Twilio account. And we also need to have the authentication token and a phone number, which is basically your phone number to send the message from, right? So first of all, let me show you where you can get this kind of information. So you go to console.twilio.com, and after you logged in, and you should be able to find the phone number. All right, so I'm using a free account. I don't have much credit here to test. So just for test purposes, it's just fine. Okay, and here you can find your account SID, and here is the token for your project here, right? So all of this information, you should be able to find it in this console after you logged into Twilio. All right, so this is where you can find this information and make sure you maintain them in these apps. Not app, this app tab. Okay, so we have all the input prepared, and we can start coding, and we can start to send the messages to these phone numbers. All right, so let me rename this project live coding 116. Okay. I don't think this project is. I think it is easy to do, but it's going to show you how to make a post request with the URL fetch API. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to get these settings right, because these parameters are very important for the API call. Okay. So let me make a function to do that. So let's do a function called get, let's say get app data or something like that, and put an underscore here, and let's make config object here for all the const. Okay, so let's say sheet name should be app. We should have two tabs here. The first one is called app, right? Put app here, and another message. And we're gonna have the message. All right, so that's enough for now. So let's grab the worksheet from the application. So spreadsheet equal to get active or get sheet by name. So let's pass the configuration, sheet name, and app. So let's say this is work. You can say sheet app. All right. So we can do here. We can grab the values from that range, right? So let's say we return. We can const values equal to get data range and get display values, because I want to have the text. So we need to return the SID. It's going to be the values. The array start from 0, so 0 means the first row, all right? And we add the second column, right? So it's going to be 1. So this is SID, and token is going to be the second row, which is 1 and 2. 1, I'm sorry. So last one is from number, right? From phone number from 2 to this to 2. This is row 3. Okay, so this is B1. So this is B2, and this one is B3. You use the get range B1, B2, B3 can do that. It's just yeah, you can do this with a different way. But finally, our final goal is to get the SID token and from our app tab, this tab, app tab. Okay, so the better to test it. So let's make a test function here before we move on to next function. So let's say const app data equal to get app data, and then we can log it out console. So we run this test. Since this is the first time to run the function, I think I should I need to do the authorization, of course. So to do this authorization, yeah. Okay, so now we have this SID token from. So to improve this a little bit, you can just trim this, just in case you put some space there. So, right. maybe some space just entered by mistake. So test again. So to clean our data a little bit. All right, so we now have all of this information, and we can try to send the message. So to send the message, also I'd like to create a function to do that. Add it here, the function send message. So this is going to be for the single message. So I put an underscore here, and it's going to take a message object. And what we have in this message object, we're going to have a to property and a message property. Okay, so here we're going to have a to and a message. Another message, and I'm going to call it body. Okay, so this is going to be our body, or you can call it message, whatever you like. So here we need to send the message. What we can do here. So if you go to the Twilio.com, you go to the API, and you should be able to find this API here to send a simple SMS using programmable SMS, using this API basically. So what do we need here? Basically, we need to send a post request to this URL, okay? And we need to pass some data like the body and the from phone number and the to phone number, right? Body is going to be the message, and the from we defined it here in this app, right? And this body is going to be this body, and the to is going to be the phone number to be sent. All right, so this is about this API, and here is going to be our credentials, and you have your account SID, and also you're going to have the authentication token. We're going to use this credential. If you don't have this credential, you cannot post to this API. Okay, so first of all, let's make a copy of this endpoint, API endpoint. So let's do this URL equal to, and we need to replace this with the SID we entered here in this app tab, right? But remember, we have a function get app data is already in the app data, right? So also here we'd like to say this is going to be our app data, and in our app data we should have app data.sid. So right, so SID, maybe I can destructure this SID and the token and the firm, right? So here I don't need to use this. I put the SID here, and also I like to credentials, or I just call it token. All right. So this token is going to be a combination with the SID and this token, this authentication token here. All right. It's going to be a combination of SID and token. This token is from the app data you defined here in this tab, and this token is going to be a combination with this SID column and token. All right, and one more step, we need to encode it. So we use utilities. Yes, we need to encode these credentials, this token. So we're going to define a token. It basically is base64 encoded. All right, and we have this URL, not a URL. URL. We have the token, and we need to have the body. Okay, so the body is going to be an object, and in this object we're going to have the body. It's going to from this body. Okay, this body is going to be from our message tab. For each row, it's going to have a body and have a to, and to is this to. This is lowercase with a lowercase b. This is our uppercase with uppercase B, because this body is accepted by this endpoint. If you put a lowercase b, it doesn't work, okay? And the final one is going to be the from. So this from is this from, and this from is what we defined. What does it matter? 26 body. Fine. Okay, so body has already been defined. Okay, so let's rename it to payload. So this is going to be our payload, and we can try to const response. So we need to send a post request to our endpoint. So we use URL fetch API to send this request. So the endpoint is going to be the URL, and we have some options here. So let's say this is going to be our options, and let's define these options here. For the options, first of all, I like to make sure this method is post. Okay, by default is get. So by default is get. All right. So we change it to post for this request, and anything else? Yes, we need to add the credentials, right? We need to add the authorization method. So in the headers, we need to add authorization. Here, we're using a basic authorization here. So basic, and we need to add the token here. Okay. Let me think if anything else. So yes, I think that's it for now. So we can we have the method, and we have these options, and one more thing I think is the payload. We need to use the payload here, because this is going to be our data for the message, right? So let's do a test, I think. So this is going to be our response. So we can say try to send this request, because we don't know if there are going to be any error, right? So if we catch any errors here, I'd like to console.log, or we can return a message, right? We can return error.message. And if we send this request and without any issues, we can just return response JSON parse. And I'm going to parse the response get content text. Get no URL fetch URL. I did something wrong. Okay, I didn't add this method here. So URL and options, and we can try to return this response get response content, not get content text, and we can parse it, so we can return a JSON object. Okay, so if there is any error, we're going to return this error message, and we can try to send a message. Okay, so in this test, we have this app data. So I like to say const message is going to be, you're going to take a 2 for the phone number. So any phone number like blah blah blah, and you're going to have a message. Not a message, you're going to be the body. Okay, so this is a test message, and message we have here, and the body. So we can const results equal to send a message, and we pass this message object, and we need to pass the app data object. Okay, with these two, and we should be able to get this result. So let's console.log this out for this test. So right now I should get an error because this phone number is an invalid phone number, I have to say. So let's do this authorization because we just added the URL fetch API. Okay. So what error we get? So message the two number is not valid for the phone number. Okay, so here this message is kind of long and it's kind of a mess, I have to say. So we can improve this a little bit. So we can add this mute HTTP exceptions to our options for the request. So let me show you where you can find it. Where is my options? So here in these options after the payload, we can set this to true. So by default, I think it's false by default. So all of this you can find on this documentation. If you try to search URL fetch app, okay, you should be able to find this. So now we have this, and this time, if I try to run it again, so let me check what kind of message do we get. So we get a better message. So we can send an error message like this. So we have this message, and we have more information, and this is going to be the help document from Twilio. So if you check this URL, it's going to show you what kind of error you get. Okay, cannot open it. It's error. Okay, so it's going to explain the issue here. All right. So let's try to do the to send this message row by row. Okay. So here we have this function created, send message, and I'd like to create another function to send all messages. Right. So let's send the messages, and here, first of all, I'd like to get the UI. So get UI, and spreadsheet application, I'm going to get the active. So, and let's const sheet message, get sheet by name. The name is going to be the configuration sheet name message. I think I spelled it wrong. Is this right? Message, okay, it's correct. So we have this reference. So if there is no, let's say we have no, so let's keep it here for now. So let's get the data, or we can get the, so I think I can parse them as text for all of them, so I don't need to have the value. So let's say const headers and rows equal to sheet message. I'm going to get the display or get data range first, and get display values. All right, so in these rows we have all of this data for row 2, row 3, right? And the row 1 is going to be placed in these headers. So rows for each. So for each row, right? And then we're going to have the row. So basically, we're going to loop through each rows and going to send. So in this row, what do we have here? We have the 2 right, is the phone number, and the body is the message, and we have the status here, but we're not going to use it for input because this column is for the output, right? So if you want to have a column for status here, you also can use it here. But for us, we don't need it here as an input because we are trying to use it as for the output. So for the output, let's say const, let's say this is called result. Const result equal to empty array. So we're going to save the send result. So we can do here, the message is going to be 2, and the body is going to be this object, right? And we also need to get this app data. So let's say const app data equal to get app data here. So this is going to so to send const result is going to be send message. We pass the message object and the app data object. So this is app data object. So this is going to be our result. So if result, if you check, so if result have this more information, you have this status or have this message, that means this is going to be an error, right? So we say message, and what we need to do, we need to push an error message like so let's check. Status is going to be our message and a timestamp. So we pass an error. So let's say result.message, and I'd like to pass the more information as well, if you remember. So more information is going to be a URL, right? So the users can check this URL. So let's pass this result, not URL, more info, underscore info, and this is the message, and we put the timestamp here for the new date, and else if result type of, because here what we did here in this send message, where is the send message? So we have two possibilities. So the first one is going to return a JSON object, and if any errors, we're going to return this error message. So this error message is going to be a string, right? So we can check if type of result is equal to string. So we also need to return. So let's make a copy of this line. We need to also return the error, but this time the error message is going to be the result itself. So this result is not an object, it's just an error message. And else, so if there is no error, that means we send this message successfully. And we put this result here, not result, so it's called success. And we can put the message body here. Okay, so new data. So this is going to add our result to this result object. Okay, so I'd like to calculate how many message was sent successfully and how many was failed, right? So I like to do let success count. Let's say it starts from 0, and error count is 0. So if result message. That means this is error, so I'm going to increase the error count. This one too, and this one, let's increase the success count. All right. So here we go through each line of these rows for the message, and we send, and we got the result. And what we can do here, we can update, we can output the result to this range here, right? So what we can do here, sheet message get range. So we start from the row 2, okay, and the column is going to be 3, right? And number of rows is going to be result length, and the number of columns is going to be result 0 for length. And we're going to set values, and we can set the values. The value is going to be the result, and we do this only if we have result. Okay, so if length, so basically length is bigger than 0, right? So we can leave it like this, because 0 is false, and if it's bigger than 0, that means it's true. Okay, and anything else? So I think this can do the job. So basically I'm going to go through, and I'd like to, so before we try to test, I'd like to add some, so maybe we just test it, and then we can console log out the information here. So let's say const message equal to something like done, and how many success, we can say the success count, and add a new line here for the errors. So we put the error count here. Okay, so this is the message, and we can console log this message, save, and now we can try to test it with this function. So let's try it. Okay, 123, 123 is not a valid number. All right, I'm not testing I still tested this one. Okay, success 2 and error 0. So if I check success, this is test 1, this is test 2. Okay, so that means it's done. Okay, so I'd like to add some improvement, so we can add a confirmation message here, right? So we can do let's say const confirm equal to UI.alert. I'd like to define the app name here, name for maybe Twilio. So alert, where is my alert? Alert, let's say app name or config app name, and put confirm. So message is going to be, are you sure to send this messages? And for the buttons, I'm going to UI buttons. Where's my UI? Button set yes or no. Okay. So if the confirm is not equal to UI.button, if not yes, we're going to end the code here. So we're going to return toast. So let's say the toast is going to be cancelled. All right. I cannot spell. cancelled, and we put the title. Okay, we put the cancelled as the title, and we'll put a message here for the app name. Okay, so config, not config dot app name. So basically, if the user clicks on the no button, come to end of the execution, right? And if it clicks on yes, so what we can do here, we can do cancel, let's say sending messages. All right. And after we send all of this message, I like to send a alert or message, so we can copy this line of code. So let's say success, or we can say message. And for the content, for the message, I'm going to say we already have a message here, all right? So we define it here at in the log. And here button said okay. So this is going to improve a little bit about our user experience, okay? So I like to wrap them in a try catch block just in case we're going to have some error. So try catch. So if we have errors in this code block, I'd like to make a copy of this alert, and we're going to alert. So this is going to be an error alert, and then we're going to use the error.message for the error message. Okay. So finally, I think final stuff here, I'd like to create the menu, right? So on open function, on open spreadsheet.get active, not get active, I should get the UI, and I'd like to create the menu, not add-on menu, create the menu with the configuration, app name, and add item. So this item is going to be send messages, and as a function to be called, it should be this send messages, and add it to UI. All right, so we can try to run this on open. It's going to create the menu for us, and I can get rid of this test function here, and everything should be done. Okay, so this just 3 functions to do all of this job. So let's try to test again. Let me get rid of this and send a message. So Twilio confirm, are you sure to send the message? If I click on no, Twilio, as you can say, cancelled. And let's do it again. Yes. So sending the message, okay, success 2, error 0. All right, so test done, test done. I'm not sure if I can get the message. Let me check my phone. Okay. So if I open the message here, so this is a test 1, test 2. Okay, so this I got this one, but I think that for the second one, it's going to need a while to send me this message. But as you can see here, it's working. All right. So if you have a pay account on Twilio, and this tool can work very fine because I'm using a free account because I don't have any message requirement for business. Okay. All right, so you can just simply make a copy of this project, so you can start to use it. And for me, the main purpose is not about this project. It's just to show you how to code. Okay, and with a very simple project like this, and you can start to learn how to work with API like this. Okay, so you have this kind of API, and you know how to work with API. You need to how to add the credentials to the API call, when to use a post method, and sometimes you need to use a get method. So
seen a lot of
yeah,
change,
that's it.
been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays.